Good evening, ghouls and gals, freaks and creeps, and welcome to the Terrorized podcast, where we'll be talking about everything from the paranormal, the strange, the haunted, cult, murder mysteries, true crimes, and everything in between to satisfy your spine tingling and gut wrenching needs. In today's episode, we're going to be doing a movie review of one of my personal favorite movies, and a movie I feel that punches way above its weight class is Witchboard. It was made in 1986, directed by Kevin S. Tenney. It stars Todd Allen, Stephen Nichols, Tawny Katan, J.P. Lutzen, and Kathleen Wilhoit. So I'm going to slide this over to Eric and let him hit you guys with the synopsis.
Okay, the three main characters, Todd Allen, Stephen Nichols, and Tawny Katan, decide to use a Ouija board at a party to contact the spirit of a 10-year-old little boy that Stephen Nichols' character often contacts. But instead, they come in contact with the malevolent spirit of an axe murderer who was gunned down inside the apartment complex that they live in, named Carlos Malfador. And through the use of the Ouija board, Malfador tries to possess one of the main characters.
All right. So, I'll start this off with a little bit of my feelings, because as much as I love this movie, I do have some mixed feelings about it. My biggest complaint is the acting. Not that it's terrible, but it just could have been better. Some things kind of fall a little flat. Some things feel a little too over dramatic. And with Tawny Katan, really only being just a video vixen, and then she's riding the popularity of Bachelor Party. She's barely kind of getting her feet wet in the real actress world. But for what it was, I felt like it was a good performance. You get what you pay for. What do you think, Eric?
I also agree the acting could have been a little better, maybe a little longer for more of a build-up to the plot twist at the end. Loved the soundtrack for the movie. The cinematography is excellent. Definitely an 80s classic. If you like that 80s campy horror movies, suspense thrillers, this is a gem that you must have in your collection.
Yeah, I love this movie so much. I bought it on DVD, had it on VHS. I was rummaging through some old movies that somebody had at the swap meet and just happened to come across it in a Hollywood video box. Yeah, Hollywood Video. That's a throwback for y'all. Then I bought it on Blu-ray.
I miss those days of the video store.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. So many good movies in there. Jack-O-Lantern. That was a good one. Another weird thing I've noticed about 80s horror movie is, why do they have a 20-minute long opening credit scene of just music? Y'all ever notice that?
Yes, I find it quite annoying sometimes. Sometimes I just want to get to the movie.
Yeah, because, think about it. Halloween does it. The Thing did it. The Omen. Witchboard. It's like you're getting ready for the horror movie of Metallica tracks. We got to sit through 5 minutes of instrumentals. Not that I'm complaining about Metallica.
Yes, Metallica is a great group.
I would piggyback on what you said about the cinematography. Some of the set shots that they use just to set up the atmosphere, just the opening scene for when the movie actually starts. It's Jim and Linda's apartment. The lights are all super bright in the windows, but the entire building is almost blacked out by shadows. And I think the only other thing that's lit is the light shining onto the grass. And it just sets up this already foreboding sense of gloom and doom. And it's just a front yard.
Yes, they also use a little fog in there. I think that was a nice little touch, but I agree that the cinematography is very good in this movie, and they do well by setting up the scenes.
And they're super simplistic scenes. Even the jump scares are subtle, but they're done so well, and they're few and far between. That's one thing that's it breaks away from a horror movie where it's all jump scare. 2-3 minutes, you're like, ha, fooled you, another jump scare. And then finally something really happens, and then you're like, great, now this fell flat.
Yes, they do a good job with, as you said, with the jump scares. It's not overdone, it's not underdone. It's just the right amount to fit the movie.
Yep, I'm telling you, like, one of my, like, top things about this movie is its atmosphere. The atmosphere almost plays a character for this movie. And the way they do some of the shots, I love the way they set up the camera rig where it swings around and does a lot of like the zoom in and out shots, almost like a first person view perspective for the spirit. Absolutely phenomenal, because I think there's nothing more terrifying than the idea of something looking at you through its eyes and you have no knowledge that it's there at all. So you really get the essence of the character's fear, their sense of dread, their sense of vulnerability, and they're just walking around willy-nilly because they have no idea that you're even there to begin with.
Yes, I think they do. That is a good job they do with that, because you get to see the face of the person who's being chased by the ghost or is about to die. You get to see their fear instead of just them looking away and getting a glimpse of it every now and then. You get a straight, full-on view of the terror in their eyes.
The set score is fantastic. The synthesizer, keyboard, pitch and tones that they use for this movie are, I think, probably some of the best in horror movies. I would throw them up there with The Thing's opening, Halloween's opening. I just think they're top notch. Very subtle, but enough that when you hear it, you automatically know what you're watching.
I agree. I believe that it's the same as when they use like the choir in the opening of The Omen, and every time Damien in The Omen is using his powers or to add suspense to a scene, I believe that Witchboard does the same with the score that they use.
Yeah, I'm telling you, after watching The Omen, it definitely made me afraid to be near Catholic schools, Catholic churches, because what's more terrifying walking by? You're like, oh, look, $1. Ye false, ye say. Yeah, like, oh, I'll leave that dollar alone. I'll be poor.
That's like I said, that the music is that they use almost becomes part of the cast. So that's why I think that the music and the score that was used in Witchboard was not on the level of The Omen, but was good. It almost took a persona of its own.
And some of the shots that they've used to set up for the, I want to say more like the big horror shots. I love the simplicity. There's really no special effects in this movie whatsoever. It's literally just stories, atmosphere, and these actors really had to look terrified. Their body language, this whole movie solely derived on them. And that's something I think a lot of modern day horror movies have lost. That everything requires CGI or special effects, or how much blood and guts can we throw at something.
Gore. It's pretty much, it says it's a horror movie, but it's just basically a slash fest. I feel like they've lost the ability to make a true horror movie, something that is truly scary. I feel most movies now are more gore fest than horror movies. And I would love for them to bring the horror film back to what it used to be, when you truly got scared watching it.
Yeah, a lot of horror movies nowadays just became, cash grabs, right in the name of a franchise, and then they just ran it to the ground. Or some remakes, I definitely enjoyed some better than the originals. Speaking of which, Witchboard is getting a remake sometime, I believe, either this year or next year. And I kind of have mixed feelings because being, how remakes are, and being such a fan of the original, I want to see what they bring new to the table. Even if they changed a few things, keep the spirit, no pun intended, of the original film. I believe that's where most modern day remakes go wrong. They lose the spirit trying to fit the modern audience.
I agree, and I will definitely watch it and we'll give a review on it, and we will hold back nothing. We will pull no punches. We will give it an honest review.
Yeah, definitely no punches are pulled here. I mean, even mine and Eric's ideas of what we like about horror movies conflict, and we have no problem burying the other one's opinion if we have to.
As getting back to the movie, as far as gore goes, it has some, but it's fitting for the movie. Like Tawny Kitane's character is having a bad dream where she walks into a room with the coffin and she walks up to it and looks down and two hands real quick jump up and grab her by the throat. Or she's having another dream and she's walking through a hallway in a hospital and she looks into a mirror and she's frightened by her reflection and she laughs, and when she turns, Malfador is standing there and cuts her head off with an axe. That's pretty much as gory as it gets. Fitting for the movie, but not overdone where it takes away from the simplicity of what the movie is about.
Oh, speaking of that hallway scene, I loved her dream sequences. That weird, almost siren wailing that they used for it. I think is so cool, especially because it goes with the beat of the music. So it kind of sounds like almost what they did in Tourist Trap when he would use like his telekinesis type power, that weird, and they would just carry it. It's so cool, and especially when they do it with the panning shots, it just added so much to it. And then the fog to like darken the room and give you, Tawny Kitaen almost had like that Lady in White, Yelorona type vibe with those shots.
Yes, because she's walking down the hallway and she's in her nightgown and robe, and the robe is flowing behind her. It's definitely gives you that feeling of what people say when they say they see an apparition of a woman in white or a lady in a dress. But it's fitting for the scene. And if you were to be in a hospital and come out of your room and see it, it would definitely be frightening.
Yeah, I can definitely say without a shadow of a doubt, Witchboard is one of those movies that if you are into spirituality or spiritual exploration, this is definitely a movie for you. Growing up, always being into ghosts, ghouls, goblins, monsters, slashers, seeing this is definitely something that sparked my interest into using spirit boards and the paranormal, because I think the first time I seen this movie I was 7 or 8, and ever since then, like, I've never looked back when it came to anything to do with the paranormal.
Yeah, I've been into the paranormal for probably about the same age, but it was due to the fact that my mom would tell stories of things that she experienced, and then I had experiences of my own. So yes, and Sebastian and myself, we're always talking about the paranormal. We watch other podcasts on the paranormal. So it's definitely a subject that we are into and take a lot of time and to study and learn about.
Yeah, experiencing the paranormal ourselves definitely made it a deep passion and more of a quest, I think, for understanding, like, who knows why certain people are able to see or sense things. So I guess for me personally, it was more of an answer for why me out of everybody. But I'm glad it does, because that puts me in one of those rare categories for looking at things from a you know, perspective, and also from somebody who can be like, you know what, you're not alone out there, because I've experienced crazy stuff.
Well, the movie is not only a horror movie to give you that fright and to entertain you. You learn a little bit about the Ouija board. They say in the movie that the Ouija board has been being used since 400 BC. It tells you where the name for the Ouija board comes from. You know, that it's not a board game, that these things have been used throughout history for a long time.
Yeah, to drop some little fun facts in history for you on that one, the original Ouija boards were actually pendulum boards. I remember a lot of people using the little pendulum on the chain to do paranormal investigations, or evil, even to communicate with spirits. So they say a pendulum board was originally something like that. There was a center column to hold your pendulum, and it sat almost in like, I'm not exactly sure what it was made of, but it almost looked like clay, and it was engraved with either pentagrams or certain Druidic, even Nordic symbols, depending on your culture. And that's how they communicated, received omens, various other different things. If they were going to even have a good crop, they would go to their ancestors and use the pendulum board.
Basically, the pendulum would swing one direction for yes, one direction for no. So that's how that works. And then they added the board, which would probably have letters and numbers and yes and no on it, as the Ouija boards do.
Some of the other interesting things that have kind of come about is the rules of the Ouija board. That's a very common misconception, because I know some people follow these and don't. Is when you are in contact, regardless of what happens, if say you do have paranormal activity and things get thrown or you hear strange noises, you never take your hands off the planchette. If you break contact, that's almost as bad as summoning something that shouldn't be there. Always thank the spirit for coming. Always say goodbye. And when you use the spirit board, always say welcome for coming, and make sure you close the doorway by saying goodbye, because anything that lingers open normally has negative repercussions. At least it's what people say.
And I've always been told that you can't use it by yourself, but in this movie they do. I'm not saying that you can or you can't. I've just never experienced a person using it by itself. But if you have, or if you've had experiences with the Ouija board, drop it in the comments. We'll check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of piggybacking off of what you said, Eric. Using Ouija boards on your own is not recommended. I can attest to that. A lot of people say that Ouija boards are evil and they're just bad. That's not necessarily true. There's two separate uses for a Ouija board. People use them as what they call a summoning tool, which is self-explanatory. You're trying to make something appear, start spiritual anxiety and turbulence. And then they also use them as what they call a channeling tool, something that's already there. It's to push and draw the contact, make things manifest either through poltergeist or spiritual activity within the board. Like somebody we watch on YouTube very frequently is Mindseed. Shout outs to Colt, Tanner, and Casey. They tend to use the Ouija board like that, where they have experienced things where activity is already there. They're using it more to ramp it up to see if they can bring the activity more to the forefront.
I believe that your intent has a big part of what will happen. If you're going in there with bad or ill intent, then that's what will happen. If you're going in there to just maybe talk to somebody or maybe reach out to a lost loved one, then that's the reaction that you'll get from the Ouija board.
Yeah. Some of the other rules that I kind of fall into, like, is that true or not true? They say normally, if not to use it alone, that there should be equal number of men to the equal number of women, I guess, to help balance the spirit energy. And also, you shouldn't drink or smoke anything that can, I guess, be harmful to the body, because they say they want the spirit energy connection to be as strong as possible, because you basically become a living conduit for the spirit to speak through the board.
The movie makes reference to that, so it might be true because we've looked up some of the rules that they lay out in the movie, and most of them are true. So them touching on that I would have to say is probably true.
Yeah, and it would make sense too, because if you think about it, you know, you tend to have two men, you normally get a dominant spirit. So, you know, who knows? It's an interesting thing to think about. Back to never using it alone. I don't know if this is true or not true, but looking at prior incidences, even history with other things to do with the Ouija board, that if you do tend to use it alone, spirits normally become, they draw you into it. They normally make you want to become codependent on it. The movie touches on this as well, and they call it progressive entrapment. I don't know if that's what they would actually call it in real life, but you know. So some of the symptoms, or I guess side effects, is you tend to become withdrawn. You become heavily dependent on the board. It almost becomes an obsession. At first, the spirits tend to be very helpful. They, you know, help you find missing objects or tend to ease your mind off of things. Then the spirit normally tends to change. It becomes a little bit more, maybe I would even say, like, what would you say, Eric? Like aggressive or
Malevolent.
more malevolent. Yeah, thank you. Better word for it too. The spirit normally tends to get darker. It breaks you down, tends to frighten you, frighten your loved ones. Then you tend to break away almost mentally, spiritually, where it could possibly possess you.
It weakens the resistance. The movie also touches on that. It's a key factor of the movie. The using it by yourself and the slow torment and anxiety and frustration and stuff that you feel from using it, and the spirit changing from being helpful to being negative, slowly breaks you down and opens you up for possession. Is it true? I don't know, but it's definitely a key part of the movie.
Yeah, the biggest case of that, to, I guess, give it any kind of truth, if there is truth at all, is the true case of the Exorcist.
Did they use a Ouija board, or was it just the wrong place, the wrong time, and there was a demonic presence?
There's rumor that the young man that the true story of the Exorcist is based off of, that I don't remember if it was his mother's or his grandmother's, but he did gabble with the Ouija board.
Oh, see, that's something that I just learned. I did not know that.
And I think whatever he may have been in contact with may have been demonic from the very beginning.
And most demonic spirits don't need a portal They're normally just all around us.
Yeah, I think the term they use for it is a free flowing spirit or non. I wish I could remember the exact term, but it's basically it's not tied to a location. The spirit can literally travel anywhere and everywhere, even develop attachments to people, objects.
Yeah, because not all the time is a haunting a location or land or an object. It can be a person. So when they feel like if they move away from wherever the paranormal activity is going on, that it'll stay. But no, because due to the fact that they're the ones who are actually haunted, the paranormal activity follows them.
And that's one of the cooler parts about the Witchboard movie. They actually touch on the part of progressive entrapment and possessions, yeah,
and spirits being tied to things, because the little boy that they try to contact is supposedly connected to the board. Now Fedor is connected due to the fact that he was gunned down in the apartments that they live in. So that shows that connection.
And I wonder if that's true, because in the movie they touched on that every Ouija board supposedly has a dominant spirit. Rather, it was because in the movie, Stephen Nichols' character Brandon mentions that when David died, that's when his board was finished being pressed and made. So that's why his particular spirit is drawn to that Ouija board. And I wonder if that's true, because with hundreds of people being born and dying every day, you know, is that really possible?
He also, Stephen Nichols' character also touches on that the fact that the spirits like to lie and that they're poor spellers. I've used a Ouija board and didn't experience the bad spelling. I don't know if the spirit was lying, but that's a question that maybe we can find the answer to.
Because, I mean, it would make sense if certain hauntings, even other cases that have been documented, that's normally how it starts. Oh, it was a child spirit. Next thing you know, you got the devil running through your house and everything, and he's all, hey, I'm still that little boy that you thought. So, with that being said, all in all, Witchboard, I feel, delivers on almost every single level, minus just some not terrible acting, just it leaves you wanting a little more as far as acting, and there should have been just a tad more character development, but you know, it is what it is.
I agree. Maybe a little longer to, like I said, to build up to the plot twist at the end. Little better acting, but all in all, the movie, I feel, is definitely a movie worth watching.
So, what we do here on the Terrazona podcast, we don't give you stars. We don't give you Rotten Tomatoes. We give you folks what you really want. We give the good movies, we give them the gut bucket. Because why not? You're here to turn your stomach, hurl up some terrifying ideas. And if the movies are absolute hot garbage, we give them the severed thumbs down. Straight trash. So, me personally, I would give Witchboard a solid 3.5 to 4 gut buckets.
I agree. I think the movie has great cinematography, great music, good movie score, the right amount of scare. I give it 4 gut buckets.
Well, there you have it, folks. Like we said, no bias here. We're definitely going to think about maybe the next movie we should touch up on. Maybe something like The Ginger Dead Man.
Or maybe you guys can drop a comment in the comments down below about a movie that you would like for us to review.
Yep, the more the merrier, folks. We want you to be as much a part of this as we are. We're holding polls on YouTube right now for possibly our first t-shirts. We actually have a picture of our mascot on YouTube right now. So we thought, why not have you fine folks help us out with it?
So if you have any ideas, go to YouTube, find the post about naming the mascot, and drop your suggestions.
Well, that concludes episode 2 of the Terrorized podcast. Eric, you have anything left to add?
Thank you for joining us. Make sure you murder that subscribe button, kill the like button, slash those notifications so you know when we always come on, and make sure you come back again.
All right. And with that being said, good fright and good night, folks.